Alright guys, Same Circle Wrestling episode 6. We just watched the first ever WWE FastLane pay-per-view, which leads us to WrestleMania. As we've said the last couple weeks, we'll have a WrestleMania pre-show most likely and a post-show as well. But first, we're going to go over FastLane.
Hashtag Daytona 500.
This was... okay, we're going to try and bring in some segments here because we want to try to reformulate the way we're doing this. And actually I'm going to change this up a little bit because I want the RKO scale, which is basically an out of nowhere scale. It's a 0 to 10 scale, but our 10 is RKO.
By God, he's got a family.
So, I think probably the highlight for me would have been Randy Orton coming back. Which, yeah. I mean, okay, I'm not going to say it's my highlight. It's probably my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But Randy Orton came back, so on a scale of 0 to RKO, how out of nowhere was Randy Orton coming back?
I'm gonna go swagger bomb. Like it was pretty predictable, but you were still excited to see it. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
So, alright, good.
Drop
mic.
I'd say it was fairly telegraphed. On a scale of 0 to RKO, I think I'd give it a 5-knuckle shuffle.
Oh, yes. Perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Honestly, I would give it around a 6, out of 10.
Yep.
And because, simply because I guess you would think that Orton would come back tonight, but it was either going to be him or Sheamus, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a matter of who's coming back now and who's coming back at WrestleMania. So, ultimately, I would have thought that Orton would come back, simply because of the scenario in which he came back in.
Right. I'm glad they came back, obviously, before WrestleMania, so at least they could time it at WrestleMania.
And it was a good way to start it off, too. Yeah. They kind of kicked it off in that in that manner. So, essentially, the Authority goes over Ziggler, Ryback, and Rowan, which was kind of surprising to see them win that pay-per-view. But I guess, it's like a lot of the matches on this pay-per-view where they're going to kind of drag these feuds out to WrestleMania.
I think the Authority going over, I think that was all made clear why they did that when Randy Orton came back. It was really the only way to get him to come back and rescue Rowan and Ryback and Ziggler and put him back into the program with Rollins.
Right. And that is when Orton returns, pretty much after the match, and he basically RKOs everybody. Which, I mean, like, you kind of expect. He basically would just trample everybody after the match. But I thought that was a cool way to bring him back, and it throws him into, like, sort of a position where he's almost a babyface, in a sense, like, at this point. I don't think he's, I don't think by definition he's a babyface, but in the scenario that he's in right now, he is considered the babyface, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Because I think Orton works well as a heel. Actually, I think he works amazing as a heel. He's probably my favorite heel that's active right now. And then we had Goldust and Stardust, which was interesting. And I thought, I pretty much predicted this. Like, I think we probably all pretty much knew that Stardust wasn't going to win this. They kind of want to go towards, like, maybe bringing back Cody Rhodes or whatever, maybe for WrestleMania, but we'll see how that plays out on Raw, because I'm sure they're going to have something about that on Raw. Raw should be big this week, I would assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with we'll get to it, but the Wyatt Undertaker drop there, and it's gonna be big.
All right. I honestly was surprised the Goldust won tonight. I kind of saw it going as Stardust winning tonight so that they could continue the storyline of Stardust continuing his mental breakdown and Goldust having to redeem him and rescue Cody at WrestleMania, but they found a way to continue the storyline with Goldust going over tonight, and I was pleasantly surprised how they pulled that off.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part about this time of year is getting storylines to drag out to WrestleMania, because I think they've already set them in stone, and like they have to make it still relevant and make you want to watch, but at the same time they got to drag those out to WrestleMania, so
it has to be somewhat predictable.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, that's my brother, by the way. He's just sitting in with us
What's
watching. We have a couple people that watch with us.
YouTube.
And not everybody wants to do the podcast all the time, so we just kind of do what we can.
Says took Jesse's place tonight.
Yeah, he's sitting in for
not-
Jesse, basically.
He's on his way.
Ever here. He'll be here. at
Jesse 2.0.
He's on his way.
He'll be here at 8.
So basically, I would like to say who's on the panel because we forgot to do that initially.
As always.
So organized.
Yeah. But I'm Seth Skinner.
I'm Bill Hairsign.
Gary Carpentier, as
Sean
always.
Skinner.
So back to the card, basically. We're going to say Kid and Cesaro was pretty impressive.
I'm super pumped for them. I'm just happy. There needed to be another tag team that needs to be on the level of the Usos. The Usos, like...
They've been on the top for a
They've been
long
on the
time.
top because they don't like they're good. They're the best tag team, but not good enough solo wise that you put them in as a tag team. But they don't have anyone to contradict them yet.
Right. There's no tag team that kind of has their chemistry,
Right.
and it's hard for them for somebody to be the guy that takes them over. Yeah. And I think with Kid and Cesaro being two good solo guys,
Right. Put them together as a tag team. It was interesting to see when. Cesaro had so much success, especially after the Andre Giant thing there that he won. Seeing him as like, okay, you're like, wow, it could be Cesaro and Reigns for a while,
yeah,
going
that's
at
what
it.
I was saying.
And then all of a sudden they throw him into a tag team. I kind of like it. You put Reigns up and let Cesaro kind of settle as a tag team guy, and then he's going to bust out as a solo guy eventually. I mean, he's got a bright future. He's
got plenty of time.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time, and it was cool to see a change, and it throws into the whole Divas mix there, and you got two extra extraneous storylines going there. So
That's not to say that Cesaro and Kid aren't a well put together tag team either.
Yeah,
I feel
either
like
way,
they
yeah,
actually do
exactly.
have quite a fair amount of chemistry. I wouldn't
Yeah, I
say
didn't
they're
even
on the
take
level
away
of
from
the
them,
Usos, but
yeah,
they were quite impressive. Worked together very well.
I like that. I like that suplex from the apron when he's on the second rope.
Yeah, that's
throws
cool.
him up and then into the what does he do there? What does Kid do there?
It was
it's a
either an
springboard.
elbow or a leg
It's a
drop.
Or it's the elbow. It's the
It's a
elbow.
springboard
yeah.
of
It's a
some
springboard
sort.
elbow. Yeah, it's nice. I like that.
But I think that both of them are good solos. So if you can throw them together in a tag team and have it work,
Mhm.
you can't have anything really go wrong there.
Right.
So they won the tag team titles over the Usos. And then we came to basically one of the bigger highlights, the advertising highlights, was Sting and Triple H, which wasn't a match, but there was a little scuffle.
Somewhat of a
Yeah, it was kind of a match, but not really.
A throwdown, if you will.
Yeah.
qualified to be a match.
But they had the two signature weapons, which I thought was cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
The bat versus the sledgehammer. And then Sting hits the death drop for the second time. He's done that twice now.
Even before that, he had the bat to Triple H's chin in the
Hit him with
corner,
that.
Yeah.
and took it off, pointed to the WrestleMania sign, where you're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, and I mean, we all knew it was going to happen. You know,
Right.
it's
And it wasn't going to happen until WrestleMania.
right.
In the words of Team America, it was inevitable.
Right. And it's
Yeah,
cool to see it happen.
And I was impressed with the angle they took with it. They foreshadowed it in the build-up to tonight, but they really went with it, was furthering the angle of Triple H burying the last remnant of WCW.
Right.
Because that was one of the recurring themes of the mid-2000s, was Triple H going over all the stars that came over from WCW. And Sting represents the very last piece of that that's left, and they're choosing to work that into this angle, and I really like how they've executed.
Everything he said too, like the pipe bomb with like, "Oh, you can put you on the network and the Hall of
You
Fame."
gotta,
blah,
though.
blah. I mean, he's gonna be there anyways. But
You
at the
have
same time,
to. There's no way they could have brought Sting in and not reference WCW. He was the face of that
Of
franchise.
course.
He was with them from the start to the end, basically. So,
Mhm.
he is the icon, is what they call him. So,
Right.
and I have no better nickname for the guy, really.
They try to force the vigilante, but I just really don't think that's where
Nah, that's not where
it's reflective of how he's made his presence in the WWE, but I think if I was to build a federation from scratch, he's a guy that I would want
100%.
there,
Absolutely. 100%.
because you know he's going to stick with you.
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
So then we had a Divas match. Nikki Bella goes over Paige, which is probably going to WrestleMania, assuming Paige will probably
Right.
take that belt from her.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not a whole lot to say about it, I don't think.
No, no, right. I mean, it's pretty much straightforward. It's how everyone thought it was going to turn out to be.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, there's not a lot of... The Divas division's been still kind of stale.
Yep.
Relatively, for the most part.
They try to play off too much of the Total Divas thing, and
yeah,
I mean, it's a cool concept. But
it's
I mean,
good if you watch Total Divas.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's pretty, like you said, it's pretty stale.
Right.
All in all, it was a pretty good match. It was actually really good for Nikki Bella's standards
they're
most
both-
of the way through, but I noticed at the end they tried to pull off the grabbing the tights
Yeah,
pin.
but she was grabbing like the side of that.
Yeah, she-
of her, and
She actually failed to grab the tights, so that took away from it a little bit.
I mean,
but
they're both probably the most talented divas in the division at this time. I would
right.
say.
I was gonna say. I mean, when AJ's there, it's AJ and Paige.
Yeah.
no
Oh,
doubt,
yeah.
but
Which still, I don't really know what's going on.
I don't know
with
what's
AJ.
going on with her either. I think
No,
she's
we
just
We
helping
mentioned
out.
that the last couple.
She's just supporting
episodes.
CM Punk, right? I'm pretty sure. That's what it
I
is.
suppose, yeah.
Is
that's
the
not to
UFC
say there aren't other talented divas. I'd put
No,
Natty on that
absolutely.
level. I'd say Naomi's getting there
Yeah.
if she's
Yeah.
not there already.
Natalia doesn't get much of a push either. She
No.
works on NXT. I don't think she really cares to be up there.
No, they don't. Yeah.
And I think with the tag team going, the Tyson Kidd tag
Yep.
team, she wants to kind of be there. And then we had Dean Ambrose and Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental title. I thought that this was going to go to Dean Ambrose and then
I
carry
do
over to
too.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But I guess it could always be, just like we've been saying, another way to carry it to WrestleMania and give it to Ambrose there.
It's obviously definitely gonna get dragged out because I mean, he took, like, when Ambrose lost because of a disqualification, he walks out with the belt. And,
Right. It wasn't a clean.
Right. It
win.
wasn't clean. We all said that beforehand. Like, it wasn't going to be clean. There was a couple endings that we were like, yeah, it's probably not going to be too clean. It's going to be something or other is going to happen that.
Ambrose took the belt.
Yeah, Ambrose just walked out with the belt after he got DQ'd, and I mean, obviously, yeah, like you said, it'll get dragged after WrestleMania. Ambrose will probably win it there. So.
Oh no, it was a good finish from a storytelling perspective, but I think the way it was executed was just sort of awkward. They fake out with the attempted getting himself counted out, and then they go to a DQ anyhow. And
Right.
It just didn't really seem to flow that well in the end.
I thought it was like one of those like filler matches.
Oh yeah.
It was just
Yeah, and it's also an expansion to the feud.
right, of course.
And okay, so the next part basically made us all shit because the Undertaker's theme music plays. And the casket comes rolling out, and I was talking with my buddy Tim, and
Tim O'May,
he's
shout
like,
out.
yeah, I was gonna shout out to him later too. Anyway, but,
Nice.
but Bray Wyatt is in the casket, which is basically
Big slap in the face of the
foreshadowing.
WWE universe too.
yeah,
I got a little
and
upset.
we've been yeah.
There's so
that
much
was pretty
suspense.
bad. But it's a good way to build heat for Bray Wyatt.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's so much speculation between that match. This pretty much confirms it, I would say.
Oh, I mean, well, they're not gonna. You would not have.
You can't tease
would
that.
not. No, you would not have him come out like that
Right.
and have the entire universe shit their pants because my God, the Undertaker's coming back. And it was either one of the two. It was either Undertaker came back and challenged Bray Wyatt, or Wyatt came out to challenge the Undertaker. Like there's obviously. I mean, he's gonna wrestle once a year from now on until he can't do it anymore. It's gonna be WrestleMania. So.
But Tim basically called this, saying that Bray Wyatt was in the casket doing a promo for the Undertaker thing, and Tim's actually been helping us out a lot with the Facebook page, posting articles and such. We're trying to do that a lot more, and try and keep people. I mean, even if you don't listen to the podcast and you are on Facebook and you like our page, you're still gonna get the information that we're trying to send to you.
Absolutely. We're gonna keep more up on that, but I mean, big props to Timmy for keeping up on that.
Help us out.
Been
We're gonna also try to get him on the WrestleMania panel.
We
if
have to.
possible.
I think WrestleMania is gonna be a big
Oh, yeah,
podcast
very
for
much
us.
so.
It's gonna be fun.
I didn't even know you had a page. You gotta go like that.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah, go like it. Same Circle Wrestling.
Yep.
On Facebook.
Facebook.com/Same Circle Wrestling.
Same.
.html.
.believe. Ultimo Dragon
GIF.
hashtag Scotty Too High.
.biz. And then Rusev versus Cena.
Pretty good match, actually.
Yeah, it was a great match.
Yeah.
Rusev puts the accolade on him probably like 3 or 4 times or some bullshit.
They went back with that and the STF there.
Yeah. And I forgot what happened. Oh, Lana distracts the referee.
Lana came in with a belt to distract the referee.
Rusev gets a cheap shot in, puts the accolade on.
Yep, low.
Cena doesn't tap, so technically, yeah, he just passes out. And so I guess it's a TKO or whatever they would call that.
Yeah. So Rusev's still undefeated.
So Rusev, yeah. And it's gonna, I imagine, also carry to WrestleMania.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for the most part.
All of these are pretty much carrying to
See,
WrestleMania.
and this is where this is where I'm just like, it's too much for the WWE to put everyone over at WrestleMania. Like, you know, Ambrose.
Oh, they won't. They won't put
Ambrose up for
everybody.
the Intercontinental, Cena up for the US.
Yeah.
I don't think there's
going to be upsets.
going to be upsets,
Yeah.
and there's going to be different stuff. But I mean, for like you said, for the most part, it was a good match. The ending, I mean, whatever. It's kind of how it was going to happen.
You got to build more heat.
You knew Rusev wasn't going to lose, basically. So.
Yeah. The ending was alright. I mean, Cena's never really going to tap, but that was at least the second, maybe the third time that they've had someone just pass out in the accolade instead of tapping.
Well, it's been more than that. I mean, they had Swagger, they had
Sheamus did
Sheamus
too,
did it.
I
They
believe.
had Cena do it. Didn't Mark Henry do it? I think he
I'm
fought
not
Henry.
sure.
Big E passed out too.
Oh,
I think Henry might have passed out too.
Yeah, I
Something
feel
like
like
that.
they've
Or
overused that
Big Show
spot
pass out?
quite a bit.
I don't know about Big Show.
Yeah, I don't know. Big Show might have tapped.
I don't remember.
Who knows?
But I really do feel like it's time for Rusev to start picking up some pinfall wins if they're going to keep going back to that well with the submission finishes.
Yeah.
He reminds me of I mean, it's the same gimmick as who was the guy that was the Arab dude that did the
Muhammad
camouflage?
Hassan.
Hassan, yeah. Who's his manager that was in TNA?
Daivari.
Davari, yeah. Came over. He did the same thing in camouflage.
Well, the Iron Sheik
Yeah.
had the same move
Iron
too.
Sheik,
So.
yeah.
And it's all the same storyline, basically, is the
Yeah.
versus the United States thing.
That's how
So,
it is.
Big evil foreigner.
Yeah.
Yep. Big evil foreign.
Reigns and Daniel Bryan, main event. This was like the most polarizing of match, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Easily.
Because there was a lot of people basically supporting Daniel Bryan, saying he didn't get his chance when he had the belt.
Yes.
He didn't get to hold the belt for as long as he should have. There was a lot of people saying Roman Reigns doesn't deserve to be there, which I was one of them. Saying basically he needs a little more time to develop, and I still think that.
And then you have the people like, you know, I'm along
And
with
you
them.
have-
Like, you want a Roman Reigns to
yeah,
be
you,
pushed,
you have
so.
people saying, Reigns is ready.
right.
Just
But-
because you have people screaming yes doesn't mean, like, you get the crowd riled up, but, like, that doesn't necessarily mean...
Right.
I think that a lot of it is the yes movement. A lot of the Daniel Bryan fans, even if you're not a Daniel Bryan fan, you're in that chant.
Oh, of
Just
course,
makes you
of course.
think that he's more, like...
But the reason that he was in this match is because of the fans.
Yep.
And the fans basically said, we want him to be in the title picture, which is good because even down the line he could still be in the title picture.
I mean, he's always going to be there. He's always
Yeah,
gonna be there.
and regardless, I mean, I still think Lesnar's gonna beat, either way, whoever won that match, I think Lesnar's probably gonna take it.
Lesnar's going to walk out of WrestleMania. I will be genuinely thoroughly surprised if Lesnar does not walk out of WrestleMania champion.
But I think a lot of it also was the fact that people were upset with the Royal Rumble not mattering. They were concerned with the fact that if Roman Reigns doesn't win, it kind of discredits the Royal Rumble.
Of course.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't
Which I
you?
can see.
Yeah,
I
of
can see
course.
that. But
Yeah,
at
I
the same
feel
time,
A combination of that fact and the idea that the booking and the lead up to this feud didn't do a very good job of making Bryan look very sympathetic at all.
Yeah.
It made him look like he was just trying to angle his way into a shot.
But I mean, he also just came back. I like how they ended it with him telling Reigns, he's like, you better beat his ass.
Yeah.
They also
shake hands
showed
and
shadows of Roman Reigns being able to give off a heel vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of that was showcased on Raw the last couple weeks.
I also think that plays into anyone that faces Daniel Bryan right now is going to be, you're going to be perceived in that match.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
When you have two baby faces fighting each other,
exactly. It's who's the most popular. It's what it is.
Yeah, literally, it was a popularity contest.
I mean, how many times you can just hear it vividly if you watch the 10 seconds it takes when Daniel Bryan's in the corner and he puts up the yes. The whole crowd gets behind it.
Yeah.
When Reigns is ready for the Superman punch, and he does his scream, that ooh-ah, the whole crowd's booing. It's just how it plays out.
Right.
I thought it was interesting in the build-up. You could see it especially on that tag team turmoil match. They were sort of having Daniel Bryan act kind of heelish in points too.
I think he's going to turn back to a heel. I think eventually, but
actually could.
Because I think they're going to probably push over Reigns before Bryan again. It's just like
I think that it's going to be Daniel Bryan's going to have to get revenge eventually.
Absolutely,
and that's going to be how he gets the belt.
Yep.
But and it all hinges on what I'd like to talk about is Brock Lesnar possibly staying with the WWE. And Jim Ross was tweeting not too long ago, sent a tweet saying basically that it's the tide basically has shifted because it was pretty much a guarantee that Lesnar was going to go to the UFC.
Back to the UFC, yeah.
But now concussion concerns and things like that, Lesnar doesn't want to do it as much as he did before. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame him because if you stay with the WWE, the way he's booked now, I mean, he gets to sit on his ass for...
It's a steady paycheck.
Right. And he gets to sit on his ass a lot.
Months
he shows
at a
up.
time.
Yeah.
But I feel like also if he's going to make the commitment to stay, WWE is going to have... I mean, it's... I feel like the reason that Lesnar has had the WWE in the palm of his hand is because he always has that option of going back to the UFC.
True.
If he's not going to go back, then the WWE is going to be like, listen, you either need to be here every week, you can take off that one random month where you're not there, but you need to be there or we're going to have to cut you loose.
If you think about it from his perspective, if he goes back to MMA, he's not guaranteed a belt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nope.
That's real life. That's real life.
Yeah, he's not guaranteed to be the top guy in the UFC.
Right. You've got to actually physically beat the shit out of someone.
If he stays with the WWE, he's guaranteed to have that belt.
Yeah. And I don't even know so much about having him on every week. I feel like you have to kind of still keep him away every so often as a special attraction, but at least
that's what makes him so big. Right.
Have a better version of what it was this month. Have Heyman show up for the Raws and such if you have to, but at least have him defend every pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I feel like if he's not going to go back, the WWE's going to be like, listen, we need to reconstruct this contract and
it's hard because when the belt isn't even defended on Raw or SmackDown,
it bothers me.
It's boring in a sense because you don't get that the big fight feel on a Monday night.
And those were like where the ratings were the best. Like when you had this like the Raw, SmackDown separate shows. I remember one of what was it? Shawn Michaels defended the heavyweight title against like Rob Van Dam or something on Monday Night Raw. You were drawn into that, and Van Dam came so close to winning it.
You don't see that anymore because there's those minor belts and they don't matter as much.
Yeah, that's where the problem comes in. Is the Intercontinental and U.S. belts used to actually mean something, and they're just so devalued now.
But it's also, that's why we're here, and they're trying to figure out how to. I mean, no one can really figure out how to utilize them to make them more or feel more, popular and more meaningful.
Yeah, those belts have to be there.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, if you have Lesnar stay, you almost have to split the titles again, even though you just unified them. Yeah. Because you want a world heavyweight champion because Brock Lesnar's not going to be there all the time.
Right. Yeah. So I think you've got too many guys that are, like...
There's a lot of guys that are...
heavyweight class, and then, like, that could be there, the top guy, but then you have too many guys that are, like, the medium class. Like, you need to break them up. Because you can't give these subplots.
And I think... with Raw it's tough for Raw now to draw out that third hour.
Yes.
I think the best thing for them to do is to go to 2 hours and split the rosters. And you don't necessarily have to have certain guys that are exclusively on Raw or exclusively on SmackDown. You can have them switch between shows. But the thing is, if you do this, you bring up a lot of your talent that's down there. Like
gonna say.
there's guys like Fandango that are fantastic wrestlers that have terrible gimmicks.
And you can't put them or like the New Day. Like you can break up all three of those guys.
Yeah.
Push a single like a single gimmick.
Adam Rose could go somewhere, and it's like these guys could all get pushes if there was somewhere a platform for them to go to.
And then if you also think about it, if you split up the shows and you have Raw, SmackDown as their separate entities, then you can push those guys from NXT.
Right.
You can throw them in. Like I wish they'd bring back like that. They bring back the draft and stuff.
Right.
But that'd be
Whenever
great.
you need, you can pluck those guys out.
Right, yeah.
And it really does right itself. I mean, you have Raw as the red brand, SmackDown is blue, NXT is yellow. It's almost written itself. It really is. But
That's why we're just doing a podcast in the studio.
Right. I guess we're not.
Yeah, we're not. We just got to believe, I guess.
We're not Vince McMahon.
now, if we can go back to the Reigns and Bryan match for a minute, I feel like we need to remark that it was probably Reigns' best match so far in WWE.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that's why I'm concerned with Reigns and Lesnar, because I don't feel like anybody's going to command the match there.
Yeah.
When you know that Daniel Bryan was kind of like controlling this match.
I also was thinking the same thing. It's just like, Lesnar just goes in there, does his big moves, and finds a way to win. And I feel like
who's going to call these spots?
Exactly.
Reigns is sort of in that same position where he's just there to hit his high impact shit.
I think it's gonna be a bad. Man.
I don't think it's going to be the best That's why I didn't think it was the best choice for a main event at WrestleMania.
I don't know if it'll be Brock Lesnar and Goldberg tier getting booed out of the arena, but I feel like it could be pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be. I'm not gonna have high expectations for it. I'm not gonna get myself worked up for it because it's just unless they do something where they're working on it behind the scenes, which everyone knows that Lesnar doesn't like to do that.
Right.
That's the reason why he's not there every week. I don't know. I'm not gonna get my hopes up about it. So.
And one more thing to be said is, I am not quite sure on why they decided on that for the finish. They have all this build up, everyone hitting their power moves, and then all of a sudden Bryan setting up for the running knee again, and then just spear and it's over.
Yeah, that
seems
kind of
sort
was
of
an abrupt ending. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all we wanted to say. We wanted to cover. I'm gonna go around in a circle and say, like, what was your favorite part of the pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Overall, and personally, I thought it was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. For sure.
Because it was a pretty awesome promo, and it pretty much threw everybody off.
I would probably have to go with the Cesaro and Tyson Kidd title win. It was really the only part of the pay-per-view that I was truly not expecting to occur.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Bryan losing?
Okay. I'd probably go with, Randy Orton coming back. That's one of my other favorite parts.
Yeah,
he just came back and just did his
Came
thing.
back strong, too.
Did his memes, star KOs out of nowhere. It's great.
And who would you give Superstar of the Night?
I would probably give it to... I'll give it to Kidd and Cesaro. They needed the push to win the titles. I think it's both their first title reigns, right? Or if I'm wrong.
As a tag team.
Yeah, Cesaro's had a title before, right?
Yeah.
The Intercontinental title?
Yeah, he's
had...
Or
did he have a
was
U.S.
it
title?
Intercontinental? I don't remember. I know he's had a belt.
He's had a belt before. But, just seeing them, I'll give them to them. They're a new title, so I'll give it to them for the night.
I think I'd give it to Rusev. He really impressed in that match with Cena. We've known he's capable of a lot, but he still managed to break out some new things, and he just worked an all-around solid match in all aspects.
Yeah, I'd say Rusev, too.
Cool.
I want to say either Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns, because I thought that was the best match of the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think both of them worked together to make it a good match. So,
I think anyone that works with Daniel Bryan's...
Yeah, he makes a lot of people good. He makes a lot of people look good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, we will see you next week. Thank you for listening. I don't know if we're going to do one for, maybe Raw this week or maybe next week. I don't know.
Probably next week. I know I have to work tomorrow, so I definitely can't be here tomorrow for Raw, but we can definitely do something for next week, and we'll definitely do some before WrestleMania for sure.
And just keep an eye on our Facebook, because we'll, throw things up there as much as we can. We'll let you guys know ahead of time when new episodes are going to be coming out. And, not only that, but we also have articles being posted all the time, as we were talking about before. So, keep up with us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.